In this video, I'm going to discuss bias in sampling. So there are two types of bias in sampling. There's a sampling error. These are errors that occur in the sample itself. In other words, when we use the sample to estimate the population, it doesn't really represent the population. An example of this type of error is if you use a convenience sample, some sort of sample where people self-select. That's a bad idea because often those people don't really represent the population. For instance, if somebody takes a survey outside a grocery store, you really only get one small portion of the population. If you're interested in both men and women's opinion, you're actually going to be heavily favoring women because statistically speaking, women do most of the grocery shopping across the U.S. If you are interested, though, in people's opinions of a grocery store, this could possibly be a good sample of women, but it still is the self-selecting process, and that's a bad idea. Self-selecting means that not everybody is going to want to participate due to time constraints. So you really are only left with people who have a lot of time on their hands or maybe are upset and therefore they have an issue they're trying to address. So they'll skew the sample. The other type of error you're going to see is a non-sampling error. These are errors that result from the survey process itself. So in how you take the survey, that survey itself. The first type is a non-response bias. So as it sounds, it's not getting a response for your survey. Like if you send out an email and you don't get responses back to the email. Obviously, you're only looking at a very small amount of people. Again, only people who are caring enough to send back the email, and therefore they're not really doing a good job of giving you the data you need. The other type of non-sampling error is an actual response bias. Now, there's many ways to have a response bias. A response bias occurs when the answers on the survey do not accurately reflect the feelings of the respondent. And here are some ways this can happen. First is an interviewer error, meaning that the person interviewing somehow is skewing the way the data looks. Trained interviewers will help with this. So for example, if I, as a college professor, is interested in surveying my class on my teaching style, and I give the survey myself, that's an interviewer error. Students aren't going to necessarily want to tell me that they do or don't like my teaching style. They'll be more inclined to say they do like my teaching style simply because I'm giving the survey. They'll feel bad and don't want to hurt my feelings. Even if the survey is administered as a write-in, if I'm the one looking at it, they're going to be less willing to tell me their true feelings. There's misrepresented answers. These are answers that don't accurately reflect what the person feels. It can be a lie in the question that's told that causes people to give the wrong answer, or the respondent themselves just doesn't give the right answer. For example, if you ask somebody how often they check social media each day, they're probably not going to give a true, accurate answer. Most people tend to underestimate how often they do something, so that they'll probably give an answer that's not completely accurate. They'll be trying to give an accurate answer, but it's really not. The wording of the question matters greatly in response bias. For instance, this question, do you oppose the reduction of estate taxes? It's pretty straightforward. The problem is I've only used the word oppose. What that kind of does is it implies my opinion in the question itself. Maybe I oppose the reduction of state taxes. And for that reason, people tend to often answer the way they feel the person asking the question wants them to answer. A way to remedy that is to use the words oppose or favor. Give them a choice. Do they oppose the reduction or they are in favor of the reduction? This way, you can kind of give them the choice to think about it. Now, in that sense, ordering the words of that type of question can be a potential problem. So you want to rotate the order of the questions in a survey and even the words within the question, like the last example we did. When you write, do you oppose or favor the reduction of estate taxes, you should switch it up and also do favor or oppose. If someone might be more inclined to use the first word as the key for what you're interested in, they might answer that way. The hope is that if there's a few people who do that, they balance out because you've been switching the order with which they answer the question. The type of question very much matters. And in this, I'm talking about like an open question versus a closed question. For example, what is your favorite drink? You can get hundreds of answers on this, from super specific like Sierra Springs bottled water or a cinnamon dulce latte from Starbucks to super general like soda. So the idea is an open question is nice because you can get such a variety of responses, but it can be kind of daunting. The type of data might be hard to analyze. A closed question can be useful, like changing it to being specific categories: coffee, soda, tea, alcohol, water, making it really specified for the people. The problem with a closed question is now you are limiting people's response. So if they aren't in one of these categories, like let's say they love energy drinks and that's not really here, they're being forced to answer in a way that isn't completely truthful. So you have to kind of weigh what it is you're after when you look at an open question versus a closed question. The last type of response bias is data entry error, when things can just be inputted wrong, like putting in 39 instead of 93. So to fix this type of error, you just need to double check and make sure. Now, I want to give you an example for us to look at. A nutritionist wants to study the weight of college students, so she asks her friend who teaches nutrition at a community college if she can survey her students. She visits her 2 8 a.m. classes and asks students for their driver's license so she can record the weight and birth date. Well, there's actually a couple of errors in this question. Let's start with the sampling bias. Her sample is only students who are taking an 8 a.m. nutrition class, so they're probably really health conscious. They may be majoring in nutrition, and that's why they're there. Not to mention 8 a.m. is such a specific time slot. A lot of people aren't morning people, so she's not really even getting all the types of college students she might be seeing. Maybe these are very disciplined, highly motivated students who get up early in the morning, exercise first, and then go to their nutrition class. They're just not necessarily a good enough sample for the college. So to remedy this, she could take a cluster sample of multiple classes across multiple disciplines throughout the day. Try to avoid just nutrition only. Maybe look at some classes that'll kind of give other types of majors that maybe would take those classes, and really kind of look at different time slots so that she's getting a better, broader view of college students. The other real issue is a non-sampling error. In this case, she has a response bias by misrepresented answers. With the driver's license, we know that people are not always honest on their driver's license weight. So the way you remedy this is to weigh them. Now, if they're really scared, or you're concerned that maybe people would be scared to get weighed, you could try to do some sort of anonymous survey where you give a range of weight so they might feel more comfortable not giving specifics. But the idea is we're trying to get accurate data, and the way to do that is to actually weigh the students.